Awesome. Well, thank you guys all for showing up on tonight's team call. I am really excited. This is the 21-day detox. We are on day 7 right now. And tonight, last week's call, we talked all about the body. We talked about, things that we can do to get outside, get active, things that we can find to keep our bodies moving, understanding that our body has value, that we have value, that we're not just here, we're not just existing, but we are created for a larger purpose than just ourselves being here. And that when we honor ourselves, we're able to take that value that we have and treat our bodies with respect that it deserves, and love ourselves with health and wellness and treating our bodies properly. And so today we're going to be talking about part 2. So last week was part 1, which was the body. This week is part 2. It's going to be talking all about the soul. So the soul, you guys, is the mind, the will, and the emotions. So I know each one of you are thinking, ooh, I have a little trouble with one of those things, at least one or more of them, right? The mind, the will, and the emotions. So buckle up, because tonight's call is packed full of information, and I'm going to blow your minds with a video that I found. I was praying about it today, and I said, God, how do I wrap all of this information up into one team call and still be able to hear what's good in your lives, still be able to celebrate some success, but also be able to teach you about how to understand, first of all, your soul. What is your soul? How do we understand what that is? And then what can we do about it so it doesn't rule our lives? Because how many of you guys right now are thinking in yourself right now, if I could just get control of this one thing, if I could just have more positive thoughts, if I could just not eat that cheesecake that's sitting on the counter and actually finish my cleanse day, if I could just get to the gym, or if I could just get better thoughts about myself, or if I could just stop self-sabotaging all the time, maybe I could actually accomplish these amazing goals that I've always wanted to do, right? And so I want to talk to you guys about what that is tonight. I'm not going to be so much teaching it, but I've got some information that you guys can listen to. We're going to watch a video in a bit. But every week on our team call, this is Team Hangout. So I want to call on some names here and see some really good things that have happened in our life in the past week. I know that there's a lot of stuff going on in the world. We got Corona. We got the Black Lives Matter. We got the 5G stuff. We got stuff coming from Microsoft. We got new Corona apps that we're saying don't download. There's all this stuff swirling around on top of. There's been a lot of deaths recently in my personal circle, a lot of traumatic stuff happening. But you know what? We're not determined by our circumstances, right? We serve a God who loves us, and we have value. And on top of all of that stuff, just because bad things are happening doesn't mean that we spiral downwards. Okay. So tonight's call is really going to be helping with that. But right now I want to go upwards. Let's pull this call up, and let's pull something really good. Just one thing that's happened from your last week. Who wants to share first? Just go ahead and unmute yourself. Oh, and before we go any farther, it's Melanie's birthday. So if you guys want to unmute your lines, we're going to sing happy birthday to Melanie, okay? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to Melanie. Happy birthday to you. Yay!
Thank you guys.
Happy birthday, girl.
Yeah.
Because it's your birthday, do you want to share something good that's happened last week?
Yeah, it was nice having my bonfire last night. I really liked that, and had some nice friends show up. They're really supportive and stuff and positive. And yeah, I feel like I made progress in the area of not letting the fear of rejection get to me. I did, it's expected that you're gonna have some battle as you go through these thoughts, getting rid of them and replacing them, and I definitely did go through that yesterday, but today's a new day, and I know I made progress before that, before I had that emotional time. So
That's awesome.
anyway.
Great. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. Moving onward and upward, right? Onward and upward. Baby steps forward, but also in a positive direction. That's fantastic. Who wants to go next? Jason's thinking. I can see his eyes. What about Hannah? Do you want to unmute yourself, Hannah? One of you guys, do you want to share something positive? Cynthia, do you want to go?
Yeah. So, like about this past week or something?
Yeah, just anything positive.
Well, I had some really good news just happen an hour ago.
Oh.
Yeah. So, like, how we had kind of like our almost wedding, and like we kind of had photos at my work.
Yeah.
Well, the founder of the association, like the Canadian Self-Storage Association, called me, and they want to publish my story in their national magazine.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah.
Oh,
So I have to make an article and get it done this week. And
oh my God.
so they're gonna put me in a magazine. And like Trina, I thought one day I'd be in a magazine for fashion, but hell no.
Well, didn't you design your dress that you were wearing?
Oh no, I didn't. That was a Facebook buy and sell thing.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say
Well,
it looks beautiful on you, but that's so exciting.
Yeah.
How amazing.
Yeah, so that's like positive. And then I just haven't been working out as much as I would, but I'm super trying to be conscious. I'm really, really trying to get into meal prepping and stuff. So, because I'm basically really hating to go grocery shopping anymore, because like it is just no fun, the lineups and everything. So I'm like, what do I have? Because I just don't want to leave the house. So yeah. So I guess that's just been something, is trying to cook more.
Yeah, that's awesome. Way to go. Great share.
Yeah,
awesome.
thanks.
Who wants to go next? Jason's unmuted, so I know you're ready.
I've been having a lot of positive thoughts and stuff. Haven't really been doing a lot lately though, so kind of it's been more of a steady plateau, not a hill climb or descent. So haven't had anything negative, which is a positive, I guess.
That's great. That's fantastic though. That's a really, really great share, because what you just said right now is really important. You said you haven't gone down, but you've been moving forward. And I think that's fantastic. So what a great share. That's actually going to like segue into what we're going to talk about in a minute. So well done. Hannah, did you want to go next, hon?
Sure. Just been thankful that I got a bike and that I've been able to bike to work every morning. So.
Oh, that's so great. Awesome. I love biking, and that is awesome when you're able to feel like you're not only like going somewhere and accomplishing like saving gas and doing that thing, but you're getting a chance to in the morning reflect as you're pedaling. And then once you're done your work, you get to reflect again. So that is fantastic. That's a great share. I
love like with biking too, like you burn so many calories and you really get out and get the fresh air. I love biking so much. Like it's so much easier on the body than maybe not on the butt, but a little bit more easier on the body than running and stuff like that. So
yes,
awesome.
For sure.
Keep biking. Yeah.
That's awesome. Oh my gosh, that's so good. I would say I'm thinking of a positive from last week. Man, my mom came to visit, and it was really great to see her. Just being able to have her here and just spend some time. We did a big Pentecost service on Sunday, and it was really, really powerful. And just having her, it was a little lot going on last week. My grandma turned 90. We had a big family gathering, but it was a lot of like everything we did was so woven with like God's goodness and his grace and his mercy through the whole week. And it was just really, it was really, really cool to be able to have her here for that. So that's my one share. So, from this place, you guys, when we're talking about the soul, we're talking about the mind, the will, and the emotions. Okay. And I heard something really, really cool today. I was I was actually going to actually kind of shift gears tonight and go into a little bit more of this other direction, but I felt like I'm not supposed to go there just yet. I'm going to actually share the video with you guys so you can watch it on your own time, because I want to keep this call relevant, but I also want to keep it not too much information to overwhelm you guys, because otherwise we all know the brain shuts off in about 20 minutes. So I listened to this teaching from Carolyn Leaf, who were doing the 21-day detox. So have you guys, just before we go any farther, hands up, or actually in the comments, let's try this. In the comments box, if you have done the 5 to 7 minute exercise about taking the toxic thought and writing it down and actually thinking about how did you come to that toxic thought? You know, for instance, like say, oh, I'm overwhelmed all the time. Okay. So I'm just so overwhelmed, right? That's the toxic thought. That was my thought last week, was I'm so overwhelmed. I had so much going on, right? And I thought, why am I feeling overwhelmed, right? So I had to think about what was the root of why I was feeling overwhelmed. You know, was it the fact that I just didn't have organization in my life? Was it the fact that there was a lot of things that I was trying to take responsibility for, not letting other people down? Was it the fact that I just was staying up too late at night and not getting up early enough in my day? Was it because I was taking too much time for other things and not enough? So again, balance in the life. So I had to really think about these things, and it was really handy because I wrote down the toxic thought. I wrote down how I got to my thought. How did this actually come into my mind? How did this form in my body, in my soul, in my spirit? How did this come into my life? Then what do I do with that? Okay, so there's practicality, right? So we can write down, okay, if I'm feeling overwhelmed, where are the areas that I'm feeling overwhelmed? So I did learn this from the last detox that we did with Mel Robbins, where she makes the list, right? You dump all the contents of your brain out onto a piece of paper, and you can only highlight 3 things. So what I was doing is I had my whole desk was just full of stuff. I had this notepad. As you can see, I've got all these notes coming out of it. They were all over my desk. I had gone to my grandma's for the weekend, and she's been really giving us a lot of stuff from her house because she's downsizing. So I had pictures, and I had frames, and I had work stuff, and I was overwhelmed with all of this new program and all of this stuff in my room. It was just like, I just felt like it was a disaster area. So last night when I came home, I went, if I want to have success and I don't want to feel like I'm constantly being overwhelmed, I need to clean up my workspace. So that was number 1, having balance, getting to bed on time and having proper sleep, setting some family time and some friend time aside, organizing my business to what is actually important to do right now and what are some goals to work on for the future, and really cleaning up my space. So that was some things that I took from last week. Does anybody want to share on one of their toxic thoughts just before we go into the soul stuff about what you did with that and how it really helped you to bring it into captivity? Anybody wanted to share one of their thoughts from last week? Because we did this exercise every single day. Yeah, that's okay. You guys don't have to share if you don't feel up to it.
Well, I can share, like, I like had the fear of rejection, like I mentioned, but I realized that there was about 5 other fears and stuff attached to that. And I found journaling really helpful to address all of that stuff. And yeah, I just keep doing that. I can't say I did it on a consistent daily, 5 to 7 minute basis, but I am trying to start my day right.
That's awesome, Mel.
Yeah.
And thank you so much for your vulnerability. Like, that is super vulnerable. And I know that people that are either on the call right now or watching can relate to that in every single measure, that we have to peel back the onion. And Cynthia, no problem. Like, I know that you probably missed that homework from last week, but you can take it and you can use it this week. And it's really powerful. It's simply, you grab, you sit down and you don't get all the toxic thoughts. You only get to pick one. Okay. So you sit down, you meditate for a moment, and you say, okay, what is the thing that's like the most, right front and center thought? And mine was overwhelm. Melanie's was rejection. Right. And so you take that and you go, okay, how did this thought come in into my mind? Like, how did it get here? So Melanie's was like pulling back the layers of, okay, maybe it came in on a little bit of fear from something else, and a little bit of fear from this, and a little bit of fear from that. And it all compiles to rejection. However, the root of the rejection was fear. So that's the toxic spirit behind it. But we're just talking about the thought, right? How did it get there? And then Melanie, do you want to share the opposite of the rejection? Because, you know, like everything that we do here at Cynthia as well, just to give you a recap, because this is good for everybody that's watching this recording. It's not just for you that missed it. So what you do is, let's say for mine was overwhelm. Okay. I'm overwhelmed, right? And so my positive thought all day was, I'm an overcomer, right? So I'm an overcomer. And I pulled scripture to support that for me. There's a song by Mandisa. It's like, I'm an overcomer, right? Or you're an overcomer, right? Stay in the fight till the final round, right? And so you surround yourself all day, constantly, instead of meditating on, I'm overwhelmed, I'm overwhelmed, I'm overwhelmed, I'm overwhelmed, or I'm rejected, I'm rejected, I'm rejected, I'm rejected. We focus on the opposite. Okay, so whatever the lie is, we focus on the opposite. And all day, Melanie goes, I am loved, I am accepted, I am perfectly and wonderfully made. So Mel, do you want to share just that one thing that was the opposite of the rejection for you?
I'm just trying to I knew God was talking to me about, you know, in the Bible it talks about he gives us a new name that only like we know, kind of, it's like a little secret thing or whatever between me and the Lord, and just something that touches my heart. And he definitely has a nickname for me. And he reminds me of that, you know, when I'm going through whatever. You know, I had a misunderstanding happen between me and somebody this past week, and you know, we're all unique, and sometimes that's gonna happen. And I felt God remind me of like who he says I am in that moment, which was my nickname. And
that's awesome. That's so awesome. So maybe for you, that nickname is the opposite of the rejection, because he calls you by name. That means he sees you and he knows you, right? And he calls you by name. So there's actually a song about that by Carrie Joby. You should listen to that. I love music, you guys. It's part of my life as a worship leader. And so I'm constantly finding songs that I listen to that support that positivity. So that's another tip for you. Jason, that's fantastic. So Jason just put in the chat there, he was working on trying to be more positive instead of negative thoughts. So I kind of did it a bit in the wrong way, but you know what? That's perfect. It's baby steps, right? So whether it's just recognizing you have the thought, and all you can do is remind yourself in the opposite all day long, that's powerful. But remember, we're going to do this every day. And what's really powerful is to write it down. So I wrote my toxic thoughts down in this journal. So by the end of the 21 days, we're going to repeat this again and do another 21 days. So if those toxic thoughts are gone, fantastic. But it actually takes 63 days to form a new habit, not 21. 63 days. So we're going through every aspect right now. We're dealing with the body, we're dealing with the soul, we're dealing with the spirit, we're dealing with the mind, because of the fact that we are not just one component. We're not just a body. We have all these different components. So the really interesting thing that I found, thank you, by the way, Melanie, for sharing. That is so powerful. And I just love how your willingness of transparency is so beautiful. And, you know, we've just seen this beautiful transition in you from day one to where you're at now. So I just think that's amazing. And, you know, just to celebrate yourself in this time, right? So if you have negative thoughts when you're eating, do you know that 80% of your nutrition is not absorbed? It's scientifically proven. So that is the hot tip for tonight. That's I was thinking about bringing this into our team calls, that every week I'm going to bring, and like, I'm going to call it nerding out on nutrition. That's inspired by Melanie, because she loves to do the same thing too. And I'm going to bring you guys one fact per week. Okay. So if you have a fun fact, maybe you can bring your fun fact too, and you can share it on the team calls. Okay. Now she also said, with the brain detox that she's doing, she also does it with the body. So remember about foods that you're eating. Get stuff that's locally grown, locally raised, fresh foods, because if it's picked in another country and shipped, you guys know they spray those things to be able to process over in the ships over time. So they actually spray them with chemicals to help them keep ripening. So you guys got to remember that when you're feeding your body nutrition, when you're feeding your spirit, you're feeding your soul, you're feeding your mind, those also need to have good thoughts while you're eating. So instead of sitting in front of the TV and watching like a horror movie, try turning the TV off and sitting and listening to the birds out your window, or, you know, talk to your roommate. That Melanie and I, when we eat, 9 times out of 10, we sit at the table and we have a conversation, positive, and we enjoy the meal so much more. And guess what? You're going to absorb all that nutrient. So keep that in mind, you guys. Another thing that's really powerful is what you focus on is the thing that you worship. Okay. So you're either going to become a slave to that thought, or you're going to become free by that thought. So I want you guys to think about that. That's the mind-blowing heavy revy. I'm going to drop, I think I'm going to do this for every week, is one tip on nerding out on nutrition. And the other one is going to be a heavy revy. So I'm going to drop a heavy revelation, and it's going to be about thinking, right? So what you're focusing on. The Bible says, try to focus on what is good and what is pure and what is whole, right? Focus on those things, because you know what? That thought actually creates neural pathways in your brain and actually gets into your very DNA. Isn't that wild? So Karen Lynn Leaf has this beautiful 1-hour conversation. I'm going to share it with you guys after the call. You can watch it in your own time. Mind-blowing revelations that are from the Bible, that God talks about these like Psalms and scriptures. And we're like, oh yeah, that's really nice. But she actually pairs it with the science and shows you how it's actually scriptural. What you think on is what you become. It's very powerful. So that's what I want to get into tonight. So without further ado, I'm going to share my screen. Make sure you guys have your volume turned up, because we're going to watch a quick little video right now. And let me pull it up here. And this is by Miles Monroe. And just bear with the old style of the little classical music in the background. But this information is going to blow your mind. Are you guys ready for a heavy revelation? All right, so here we go.
Why is the soul the first component of media? Now, this is new stuff for you, so you got to think about this. The soul is a media because the soul is the mediator between the spirit and the body. The soul is the most dangerous part of your life. Matter of fact, your spirit is not your problem, because you are a spirit. But your soul is your problem, because your soul is the one that dictates what your spirit receives. Don't miss this. I know the devil is in the Bahamas today, because if I was him, I'd come to this meeting myself and sit up front, right here. You sit right there and listen to me teach. Because the devil knows that I got the key to his battle. The devil ain't after your body. Your body's just a bunch of dirt, a lump of dirt. He ain't after your spirit, because your spirit's already filled with someone. But there's a key component that he can still manipulate. What is your soul? Your mind, your will, your emotion. And the soul is the mediator between the spirit and the body. Now, write this down. The soul receives from the senses and deposits in the spirit. Very important. What does the soul do? It receives from the senses. In other words, hearing, tasting, seeing, touching, and feeling all come to the senses, but they all go to the soul. They go to your mind, your will, and your emotions. So whatever you see, touch, taste, feel, or hear goes to your soul. Now, if your soul takes it and deposits it into you, which is your spirit, then you got to make sure regulate what the soul is picking up from the senses. That's why Jesus said, take heed what you hear. Take heed means be selective. Regulate your hearing. Choose what you want to listen to. Why? He said, because it will leaven the whole lump. My God. It'll mess up your whole life. Your soul receives from the senses and deposits in your spirit. But here's the other side. It's a little bit difficult now. The spirit reveals through the soul to the body. Now, here's a problem. I need some help. Can you help me? Come here, son. Can you help me? I want you to stand up here. I got to do this visually so everybody can see this. Can you stand right there for me, please? I need someone else too, please. Can you come? I need a woman, a female, okay? Can you just turn facing that way, please? Okay. Can you stand right in front of him here and face that way for me? Thank you, son. I need a lady now. Come, please help me. Thank you, Sylvia. Oh, thank you, Miss Media. Come. Hey, that's a good one. Let her come. Yeah, since she's Media, she can do this real good. I want you to stand right here. Watch where I'm going to put her. In the middle. Okay? Stand right in the middle of them. Face that way. Now, this is the battle that you're facing right now, every day, every moment of the day. This is your spirit. This is your body. This is your soul. Now, your body is getting information from what it sees, what it hears, what it tastes, what it touches, what it feels. And it takes it and transmits it to the soul. The soul then takes it and gives it to your spirit. All right? And when the spirit gets that information from the soul that it got from the body, the spirit now has to deal with this information. Problem. Once the spirit get all this information inside of it, when the spirit wants the body to do something, who does the spirit talk to? The soul. So the spirit gives the direction to the soul and tells the body what to do. Now you got a couple of problems here. Sometimes the body don't want to do what the spirit wants it to do, so the soul is in a battle. Is what you call a mental battle, a battle of the soul. So your spirit says, the information that I got from the body is unrighteous. And the soul said, but that's all the body gave me. The soul cannot give the body, or the spirit rather, what the body didn't receive. Faith comes by what? Hearing. And you hear it through what? The body. So the body hears something, the soul takes it, believes it, and gives it to the spirit. Now the spirit receives and conceives it. If your spirit has the spirit of God in it, there's not a spirit that's missing there, it's on the inside of the spirit. That spirit disagrees with what the spirit just received. And the spirit of God says, now that is not righteous information. So the spirit of the man tells the soul of the man, that is not righteous. Tell the body that is not righteous. Tell the body to change source of information. Body says, no, I like how it feels. Soul, come on, feel it. And so the soul feel it from the body. And the soul says, it does feel okay. And the spirit says, but it ain't right. So the spirit says, soul, tell the body, stop it. Body said, feels sensually good. Don't you like it, soul? And soul said, I know it's wrong, but it feels emotionally good. And so the spirit loses. And now the spirit is downloading junk that's starving it to death. You know who's the most important part of that whole trinity? It's that soul, fella. That soul. Because that soul could decide to reject or accept. The power of the soul. So the soul takes from the body, gives to the spirit, but the spirit also takes from the spirit and gives to the soul for the body. So the body can only do what the soul makes it do, and the soul can only do what it accepts from the spirit. That's why the Bible says, do not walk in the flesh, but walk in what? The spirit, and you not fulfill the lust of the flesh. Thank you very much, oh man. All of that is man. Thank you very much. By the way, there's a female in the middle there. She got the feeling part. Praise God.
All right. How did you guys go with that? Like, I want to hear some like feedback from you guys about your thoughts about that. Because here's the thing. If we have the mind and our will and our emotions, have you ever heard, like, I made that up in my mind, or I was emotional, so I did this, or I just decided that I deserved it. So that was like that deservingness, that I decided. That's your will. You can either choose, your will is you can choose good or bad. It's up to you, right? Your mind, right? Your mind is where you pull thoughts in. Okay, so your thoughts that come into your mind, you can decide if you're going to agree with that, right? And then it becomes part of your spirit, right? He's saying it's either stealing and downloading good stuff into your spirit, which is your consciousness. So let's just put this into context for a minute, okay? So let's just say you had a really hard week, okay? Something really bad happened, and a thought comes up. I'm feeling overwhelmed, okay? So another thought comes up, and then let's grab that. So I grab that thought of overwhelm, I pull it into my consciousness, right? And I agree with it. Yes, I'm feeling overwhelmed. Now another thought comes in. Okay, well, now that I've got a place for that overwhelm to be, and my soul, my spirit is like, you agreed with that overwhelm, and now your body is actually manifesting the condition of overwhelm. What does overwhelm feel like? Heavy, tired, sick, like kind of like a circuit fry in your brain, whatever, right? So what does that look like if you have goals? Let's say I want to help more people get healthy. I want to eat better in my life. I want to, do more things like help at my orphanage. I want to open more businesses in the world. If I'm grabbing hold of the overwhelm and my circuit upstairs has a fry in it, okay, so my mind goes up, I'm overwhelmed, I can't do anymore. I'm having a malfunction, I'm shutting down. So then my will is either I can decide to stay in that, or I can come out of it. Now, some of the last week, I decided to stay in it. But what I did was, instead of going and laying down and having some rest and thinking consciously about where I'm at, do I like the feeling of overwhelm? And so I want you guys to think about this week when you're doing your toxic thought. And you can write this down, or you can take notes on your phone, or whatever you want. I want you to think about, how does that toxic thought make you feel? How is that, let's do the why, where, what, when, and how, okay? So we're going to say, how does the toxic thought make you feel? And I want you to close your eyes, and I really want you to get like really in it, okay? Like allow yourself to allow your senses to get really in it. Because what we're going to do is we're going to make our soul detest the bad thought. So if our soul is made up of taste, smell, touch, feel, and seeing, those are our senses, okay? So media, just to go back for a second, is the communication outlet. So we know media is like the newspaper, like videos, the news, social media. These are different types of outlets for communication. Okay, so when we're talking about different types of outlets to store data, right? So the communication outlets are used to store data. So you're storing data in your taste. You're storing data in your eyes. You're storing data in your sense. You're storing data in your hands and your feeling and your touch, right? So these are your senses, okay? So I want you to say, how does this toxic thought make me feel right now? Okay? And I want you to ask yourself, where is this toxic thought coming from? So we're going to do the who, what, when, where, why, right? Okay? So where does this toxic thought come from? We're going to focus on it for a second, okay? Now you might get some memories come up. Write them down. You might get some feelings coming back from like a smell, you know, like, I don't know, like maybe a fire, for instance, can trigger a trauma. Okay. So the smoke can trigger a trauma. Why? Where is this coming from? Right? Where is this rejection, Melanie, coming from? Right? It's got to come from somewhere. How did you learn it? Right? How did it get into your consciousness? Right? Same thing, Jason. Where are those old thoughts coming from? But if you're having any of those, where are they coming from? Right? Are you having them from a past circumstance? Are they coming from somebody told you so? Right? Or some parent said, oh, you know, healthy eating is actually stupid. Right? Like, where's this coming from? What did a doctor say? Okay. So then we're going to say, what are we going to do about it? Okay. So we know what it feels. Sorry. We want to know how it makes you feel. Now we're going to figure out where it's coming from, right? Because we don't like that smell. We don't like that taste. We don't like that memory, right? So for instance, for me, I don't like the feeling that my body is heavy, that my skin feels dull, that my body doesn't want to move when I'm heavy and I'm feeling overwhelmed, when I'm tired, when I feel sick, when I feel overweight, whatever it is. I don't like that feeling. Okay. So where is it coming from? It's coming from either an out of balance in my life. It's coming from a belief that I have that I'm not going to be successful. Maybe that I'm going to let other people down, whatever the root is, I'm going to get into that and I'm going to start pulling the layers back. Okay. And don't be afraid to ask yourself the simple questions. Okay. Well, where did that thought come from? 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 Ask it like 5 times. Okay. So make an effort to ask at least 5 times yourself. Okay. So where did that memory come from? Right? Where did that thought come from? And get down into it. So what you're doing right now is you're peeling back the layers around your soul like an onion, and you're going to get to the root of it. Okay. Now, now it says when. So when did you have that thought? Okay. So this could be a time of day. Maybe you're having the same thought every single time of day, but you can't pinpoint why. And then you realize after you've journaled it, you're like, whoa, every single day when I have that bad thought, it's because this person's in the room that's only here this time of day. Or I go to visit somebody and that's when that thought comes up. So when does it happen? Okay, so write it down. When does that thought happen? Okay, could be morning, could be evening. Maybe you have some kind of fear of the dark, just hypothetically, and those bad thoughts happen at nighttime. Maybe you're overeating and it's at nighttime. Why? Why are you having that at night? When is it happening, right? So your why is 2 parts, okay? So first of all, why are you having that thought in the first place? Maybe you don't feel like you're good enough. Maybe you don't feel like you're going to succeed. Maybe you don't feel, and then ask yourself, why don't I feel that way? Right? So the 5 whys that we learned from Erin Postel, if you guys are wondering about that, it is actually, I just posted it today in our Wealth for Life. You guys can go and watch that. So she'll break it down and she'll get into that whoop, right? Or the 5 whys, which is really important. You can even Google the 5 whys. It's powerful. So you can ask that. Now, where are we going from here? Because you got a decision to make, right? Am I going to stay here? Am I going to continually feel this feeling? Or are we going to move somewhere? Because you're either going to move deeper into that feeling, or you're going to reject it, that partnership with your spirit, and you're going to choose to walk a different direction. Okay? So we can choose. but where do you want to go? Do you want to live with this thing for the rest of your life? Or do you want to make a change? And do you want to move upwards, onwards, and upwards, like we talked about, okay? And then the last one is, what are you going to do about it? Okay, so we know that we don't want to stay there, right? So we feel the thought, okay? We feel the toxic thought. We now know, oh, I don't like the feeling of overwhelm. Oh, I don't like the feeling of rejection. Okay, we don't like it. It's hurtful to us. So what's the thought? Okay, where did it come from? Or sorry, how did we get it, right? Where did it come from? Why are we thinking that way? We're going to do some digging, okay? We're going to ask, okay, where did it come from? And all that stuff. Now, when did it happen? All right. And then what are you going to do about it now? Okay. So here's the key part. Okay. You got to be able to figure out what the opposite of that thought is. Now, what I was saying before, because I'm a believer now, some people watching this recording are maybe not, and you don't know anything about your value from Father God or whatever, or you don't, pray or whatever, that's not part of your lifestyle. But this is for me, just for me sharing from my experience. I ask myself, what am I going to do about it? Now, in order to do something about it, you have to have an option, okay? Right? If we don't have an option to not be rejected, if we don't have an option to not feel overwhelmed, then we're going to just stay in that, right? So we got to have the option. So what's the options? Okay. So I can stay here in overwhelm and feel sorry for myself and let my entire team fall apart and lose all my Hutterite colonies and just claim the fact that I'm going to have spinal stenosis for the rest of my life and my life is going to fall apart and be terrible, right? I'm going to live with Melanie for the rest of my life in this little room. I'm never going to buy a house. I'm never going to have a family. I'm never moving on. That's really where that could spiral to. Okay. But I don't let it do that. I don't accept that as my truth. I put my goals behind me, right? Or in front of me, and I focus on the promises of God. Now, if you don't have promises, if you don't know who God is, if you don't know what that is, I want you to just do some soul searching. And I want you to think about some of your goals and your dreams that you've always wanted to achieve. Every one of you have it built right into your DNA. Okay, it's there. God created you for a purpose and a plan. It's already there. Do you know that you can't even try to get that out of your body? It's in there. You can't get it out. So what I want you to try to do is say, what are my goals and my visions? Where do I really want to be? And wildly dream. Journal it, write it down, put it in your messages in your phone, in your notes, and get wild and radical about it. Okay? Because if you don't know where you're going, you won't make an effort to change. Right? If you don't have a reason to change, you're never going to do it anyways. So you got to think about what are your goals? Where do you want to go? Who do you want to be? What do you want to manifest in your life? What do you want to help people with? What do you want to at the end of your life, when everything is said and done and people are standing over your grave and you're getting buried or cremated, whatever, maybe you're getting your ashes sprinkled around or whatever. What do you want people to say about you? When you stand before Father God, what do you want him to say? Do you want him to say, good and faithful servant, well done? Welcome into the kingdom. You completed the task. You lived out the will. Or do you want him to say, well, what did you do with that time? I just sat on my couch and I ate chips because, I felt overwhelmed. I felt rejected. I felt like I couldn't do it. I felt stuck. Okay. So this is the thing is that really get really clear. Like we know we've talked about our why on this call many times with Isogenics. Okay. But I want to get deeper. I don't want to just talk about Isogenics every single week because Isogenics is a vehicle to get anywhere you want. It's to accomplish anything you want in your life. You want a healthy body. You want to look a certain way. You want to look younger. You want to feel better. You don't want to be strapped to a medical bed for the rest of your life. You want to create an income because that income is going to be able to provide for you in all these different areas. Whatever it is, it's a vehicle. But if we can't get our own thoughts right, if we can't get a hold of our soul and start reining that in and saying, hey, soul, You're actually going to listen to the spirit. You're not going to be controlled by the body anymore. Okay? So if we can do that, that means we can accomplish anything, isogenics or not. Okay? Are you guys excited about that? You know, I know I got real serious on you for a sec, but I mean, I'm serious because I care about each one of you guys. I care about you guys getting results. I care about you guys having success. I care about you guys being happy. I care about you guys being able to get to that place in your life where you're like, yes, I freaking did it. Yes. You know, like the baby, like, yeah, right? You know, and so this is what I wanted to talk to you guys about. You may have to go back and watch this recording, and it is available for you guys. Miles Monroe, amazing. If you want to write that down, or you'll watch the video again, it'll be there. But Miles Monroe taught me so much about this, you guys. I get proactive about my life. I don't just listen to a team call or host a team call per week. I am on YouTube. I'm searching it out. I'm finding it. I'm digging. I'm pulling back those layers because I'm actually taking time to build myself up, right? If we don't get our cup full, we'll never be able to do any of this stuff, right? We're just going to feel, I got nothing left. I got no gas, right? And we don't want that. So this is really powerful because it's putting it back in your hands. It's giving you power back. So let's take that captive thought. Let's write it down. Let's do the 5 whys, the who, what, where, when, how, and why. Okay, so what I'm going to do for you guys, because I know that it's a lot, I'm actually going to write that out for you. And I'm going to put it into the Health for Life. And then you guys can go over there and you can read it and do the little exercise. And I'm so excited to see what this does for you next week. But like, if we get control of our soul, if we understand that it's not going to rule us anymore, that we can have the power in the mind, the powerful will to choose the right things, and positive emotions instead of being ruled by our emotions. We're no longer going to be a slave to our soul. We're going to set our soul free by choosing the right thoughts. Yeah? Okay, cool. Awesome, you guys. Well, I want to end the call there. It's 51 minutes in, and I'm trying to keep them under an hour. But I just want to honor each one of you guys for showing up on tonight's team call. Thank you for honoring yourself enough to pour into yourself every week. Because, you know, we're moving forward, but we're also part of a team. We're part of a body. We're part of a accountability group here. So we're always here for you, whether you show up and you're a mess or whether you're having the best week of your life. There's no judgment here. It's all about community. It's all about being here for one another, and it's all about helping each other. So love you guys so much. And I will take a quick screenshot to say cheese. Oops. I don't know if I can do it when I'm recording. Just a sec. Hold on. Okay, I'm going to